At you guys with another video. In this video, I'm starting my 7-round mock draft series, doing my 7-round mock drafts for all 32 NFL teams. I did this back in 2019, wasn't able to do it last year. I'm making it a priority to do a mock draft for all 32 NFL teams. And we're going to be doing this series in order by the draft selection. So Jacksonville Jaguars currently have the #1 overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft, so they'll go first. Then we'll do the Jets, Dolphins, and so forth and so forth. So for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think their biggest needs involves the secondary, because corner and the back end of that secondary for Jacksonville last year was a tragedy. Now, you did have C.J. Henderson, who did perform really well. As a matter of fact, he was the best rookie cornerback last year when he was on the field. So now you need to find a cornerback to pair up with C.J. Henderson. On top of that, you probably could use another slot corner and some more depth at that position. I also feel like they need some more help at safety, and they probably could use some more added pieces on the interior of the defensive line. Now, for the offensive line, that needs a little bit of work too. I still feel like they could add a piece at maybe offensive tackle for some more depth in the interior as well, and maybe a couple of skill position guys at wide receiver. So before I get into this mock draft for the Jacksonville Jaguars, make sure that if you are new to the channel, you haven't already, that you guys go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Below NFL videos and college football videos daily. Also make sure that you hit that like button and turn on the bell icon, well, the post notifications, which is the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button, so you get alerted every time I upload a new video. So let's get into it. So with the first pick that the Jacksonville Jaguars possess, I have them taking quarterback Trevor Lawrence. This, without a doubt, is a no-brainer. I don't really think it's too much to explain at this point. We know that Jacksonville Jaguars are looking for their franchise quarterback. Doesn't look like Gardner Minshew is going to be the guy, so it looks like they're going to end up taking Trevor Lawrence, which I would agree with. With their second first-round selection, 25th overall, I have them taking cornerback JAYCEE Horn out of South Carolina. Now, JAYCEE Horn, if the last name does sound familiar, he is the son of former four-time Pro Bowler wide receiver Joe Horn. Now, JAYCEE Horn is probably my second favorite cornerback prospect in this year's draft class. This guy is a great press coverage corner. He's really good at being really physical at the point of attack, but his main concerns are his ability to tackle consistently. Okay, he can tackle, but is he willing to tackle? And also, off-man coverage is also a little bit of a struggle for him as well. And we're starting to see a lot more of these Denzel Ward kind of corners who are really good in coverage, but they're not really all that great as tacklers. So the question for JAYCEE Horn is going to be at the next level. Is he going to be able to tackle properly? Is tackling going to be an issue for JAYCEE Horn? But I really think JAYCEE Horn on the opposite side of C.J. Henderson, with the potential that him and C.J. Henderson both possess, at the potential of being two top 10 corners, I think that if JAYCEE Horn ends up getting drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars, that he should have immediate success right away. And if C.J. Henderson is able to stay healthy, Jacksonville Jaguars secondary is not only going to be improved, but they're going to have one of the best cornerback tandems in the NFL. If I was the general manager for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I would have JAYCEE Horn going 25th overall for my second first-round selection. Now moving on to round 2, I have Dylan Runnels out of North Dakota State. Now, this guy may be one of, if not the biggest sleeper prospect in this year's draft class. This guy is a swing tackle. He can play left tackle, but he can also swing and play right tackle as well. He is a really great run blocker. Reminds me a lot of Quentin Nelson, but instead of playing guard, he plays tackle. Really reminds me a lot of him, and I know it may be a little bit, weird to make that kind of comparison, because Quentin Nelson mostly plays guard, but you have this guy who reminds me just a lot of him. He's just an absolute mauler, and he's really good in the run blocking game as well. I like this guy a lot. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if over the next couple of weeks we see this guy quietly emerge as a potential offensive tackle who could go late in the first round. With the second round pick that Jacksonville Jaguars possess, I have them selecting safety of Darius Washington out of TCU. Now, I don't think this safety class is all that great. I think it's better than last year's safety class, but we still don't really have a guy in this safety class that we can just look at and be like, man, this guy needs to go in the first round. As a matter of fact, we really haven't had that kind of safety since Derwin James. Now, you look at Darius Washington, he does have a lot of good traits, okay? To me personally, I think he is more of a box safety. Okay, he's a really good tackler. He's really physical and run support, but he also has really great ball skills, and he is an exceptional athlete, but he struggles getting off blocks, and he also plays the run a little bit too hard at times. You can catch him with his eyes in the backfield a good amount of times, and that's how he gets caught on play action scenarios more times than often. But I think if he goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think he could be a really good fit in that defense that they're building there, because I think Jacksonville Jaguars probably could use a good box safety maybe. Now, he's not too bad in coverage neither, but in my opinion, he's more of a run support safety more than a coverage guy, but he also does have potential to be a pretty good above average safety. With the 65th overall selection in the third round, I have Tyson Campbell, cornerback out of the University of Georgia, going to Jacksonville. Now, Tyson Campbell is a really interesting prospect because when you look at Tyson Campbell, okay, he has pretty good length. He's like 6'2", 190 pounds, I believe. He is a very exceptional press corner. As a matter of fact, I think that he may be the best, one of the best press cornerbacks in this draft class. But the downside about Tyson Campbell is the fact that he is kind of really inconsistent in coverage in times, and also he doesn't really have the best awareness of what's going on the field. Now, him going to Jacksonville, I think he could provide good depth. I think he does have potential to be a really good slot corner. I like my slot corners personally to be able to be really good in press coverage, and that's what Tyson Campbell is. So if I'm Jacksonville and Tyson Campbell is available in the third round, I'll go ahead and take him and move him to slot corner, because I think that he has a lot of skill sets that really transition well to that slot cornerback position. I think he could be one of the best slot corners in the NFL if utilized properly. With the 97th overall selection in the fourth round, I have TUTU Atwell, wide receiver out of Louisville, going to Jacksonville. Now, depending on who you ask, some people will say that this is a right spot for TUTU Atwell. Some people will say that this is a reach. Some people may say he deserves to go higher. But the reason why I have him projected as a fourth rounder is because he's really undersized. He's 5'9", 165 pounds. So we know without a doubt he's primarily going to be a slot receiver. But you can utilize him in a bunch of different ways, okay? You can give him the ball on jet sweeps, reverses. He is also a very phenomenal wide receiver when he gets the ball in his hands. As a matter of fact, I think he probably is the second fastest wide receiver in this draft class behind Jalen Waddle. Now, we haven't really seen him at his pro day yet because we don't have a combine, so we don't really know how fast he actually is going to be, but it's rumored that he runs somewhere along the lines of a 4.27, 4.28. Now, when I watch TUTU Atwell, I see a lot of Tavon Austin. I see a lot of, if you give this guy the ball in his hands, then he's going to make an explosive play out of it. Now, here's the downside of this. He's a dynamic playmaker with the ball in his hands. He's good in short area situations. I think he would fit really well in Urban Meyer's offense, but he isn't strong, and that's expected because he's 5'9", 165 pounds. That doesn't mean he just, doesn't fire or anything like that. He's pretty physical for his size, but he's easily knocked off reps. For example, if he was to go against a corner like Tyson Campbell, I would like Tyson Campbell to win that matchup. So my biggest question for TUTU Atwell is, okay, how much weight can he gain without sacrificing some of his athleticism and some of his playmaking ability? Because once you get to the NFL, okay, you're pretty much at your physical prime, basically. Okay, everything when it comes to your physical aspects of you should be maxed out. Your speed, your weight, everything. For TUTU Atwell, how big can he possibly get is the question. Can he at least get to 175, maybe 180? You would like him to get there, but overall, I think for the most part, he would most likely be a slot corner at this level. But in Urban Meyer's offense, I think he'll be really good. And I know Jacksonville already has a really solid group of receivers. You got Laviska Shenault, who had a really good rookie season. You got DJ Chark as well. You're going to have Dede Westbrook coming back fully healthy. But I also think it would be really good if they added another additional piece there to improve that wide receiving core. And I like TUTU ATWELL a lot. I think he'll be a really good slot receiver with Urban Meyers there as the head coach. With another 4th round selection, 121st overall, I have defensive tackle Marvin Wilson out of FSU going to Jacksonville. Marvin Wilson may have been one of the more disappointing draft prospects in college football last year. Remind you, before the start of the 2020 season, everybody had Marvin Wilson projected to go in the top 15, maybe top 10. But at the start of the season, he was a surefire lock for the first round. Then we saw FSU, and he didn't really perform really to the level of expectation. So I drastically see him fall in the 4th round. And the reason for this is because, okay, he's not really a great pass rushing threat, okay, but he's a really good run clogger. He is the guy who you put there and you just let him clog up those running lanes, which I think Jacksonville really needs right now, because I think their defensive line isn't bad, but I think a guy like Marvin Wilson, if you're able to develop him and maybe he gets somewhat of a pass rush move or something like that, then I think he could be a pretty quality starter. And that's what you're looking for in the middle rounds of the NFL draft. As a matter of fact, the middle rounds of the NFL, like rounds 3 through 6, make up the majority of NFL rosters. So for Marvin Wilson, I think he could be a good rotational piece in certain situations. In short down packages, you could insert him into the lineup, but until he's able to develop more of a pass rush arsenal, I think he would be pretty much limited in terms of how you could utilize him on the field in certain situations. But he is a very good locker room guy. I like him a lot. As a matter of fact, he's one of my favorite personalities when it comes to prospects in the upcoming NFL draft. It's just that, you know, in this part of Marvin Wilson, he's not really that much of a threat when it comes to his ability to get after the quarterback. I think he's a really good run stopper, and I think that's what Jacksonville could use on the interior of their defensive line. With their 5th round selection, 129th overall, I have cornerback Elijah Molden from the University of Washington going to Jacksonville. Now, this is probably another corner that I have going to Jacksonville because I think corner depth is a big need for Jacksonville. I think they need way more corner depth than what they had last year. And you look at Elijah Molden, he is your typical slot corner, okay? He's 5'10", 191 pounds. He has a really good knack for the ball, high football IQ, always knows what's going around. He has incredible instincts, and he's a pretty good tackler, something that you know you want out of a slot corner is a guy who can wrap up. So I look at Elijah Molden. I think this is another corner that would be a really good fit for Jacksonville. And I have Jacksonville taking a lot of corners simply for the fact that I think that this is the biggest need. And you can't go wrong taking a guy like Elijah Molden if he is there. So you're going to have JAYCEE Horn, Tyson Campbell, and Elijah Molden. That should give Jacksonville more than enough depth that they need at the cornerback position. I have them taking another defensive back, safety Richard LeCounte out of the University of Georgia. Now, I'm a big fan of Richard LeCounte, okay? He was one of my favorite players to watch in the SEC for Georgia. He's really good at finding the football. He's always around when the play ends. He's either in on the tackle or he's somewhere around there. So this guy has a knack for finding the ball. Now, he's not the most athletic guy, but he makes up for it because he has high awareness as well. But the biggest question about Richard LeCounte is his athleticism, okay? Some people think that he runs a 4.55, which is something that you don't want out of your safety, a guy who's supposed to be your last line of defense if your corners get beat underneath. So Richard LeCounte, he also can contribute in special team situations, but I also think he's a really good tackler despite his size. I think he's only like 190 pounds, but he's also pretty good when it comes to covering tight ends as well. So Richard LeCounte could be a backup safety at this point, but I also think he could be a pretty good contributor in certain situations. So for Jacksonville, I could see them taking Richard LeCounte. I'm a big fan of Richard LeCounte here. You could say this is a reach, but I think this is a pretty good spot for Richard LeCounte. In the 7th round, 193 overall, I have them taking offensive tackle / offensive guard THAYOR MUNFORD. Now, here's the thing about THAYOR MUNFORD, okay? When you look at this guy, he's 6'6", 310 pounds. You think that he has all the potential in the world to be one of the best offensive tackles in the NFL, but he's very raw and needs a lot of improvement with his technique. And quite frankly, I don't really know what position he would be better suited playing for in the next level. You could put him at tackle, you could put him at guard, but he's really raw. He needs pretty much improvement with everything. And the biggest question mark that nobody really understands about THAYOR MUNFORD is this guy has started in 26 games, so this guy has a pretty good amount of experience. Why does this guy looks like he hasn't really played all that much in college football? That's what everybody in the scouting community is trying to figure out with THAYOR MUNFORD. But I mean, okay, if you can improve his footwork, you can improve his technique, then I would really like him at guard. Now, if you're Urban Meyer, you're really hoping that, okay, you can get the most out of your former player and that you can go ahead and move him to offensive tackle because he has all of the potential, all the intangibles to become a very good offensive tackle. But I really just don't know if he's just going to be able to develop. So I think as of right now, you're Jacksonville, you're drafting this guy, and you're probably going to start him out at guard. That's where I would put him at because I don't really trust him that much with how raw he is to develop into a great offensive tackle. I like him more at guard with his size. With their last selection in the 2021 NFL draft, I have them selecting tight end Kylen Granson out of SMU. Now, he will be a really good fit in Urban Meyer's offense because the spread offense that Urban Meyer's pretty much runs doesn't really utilize a lot of tight ends. So if he's bringing that same system he had at Ohio State, I don't really think tight end is the all be all for Jaguar fans. So I think you can get Kylen Granson, and I think he's a pretty good fit because he's a great receiving tight end. He's good after the catch. He has pretty good hands, and he would be a really good backup in the Urban Meyer's offense. I really like Kylen Granson a lot. So this is it for my 2021 NFL mock draft, 7 rounds for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section down below. Make sure that you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel.